Welcome to the UIAAA Connection podcast. Hometown Ticketing is proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the UIAAA Connection podcast and to provide schools nationwide with the best options for digital ticketing for their events. Visit their website at hometownticketing.com to learn how they can make digital ticketing possible and simple at your school. Thank you to Hometown Ticketing for their exclusive sponsorship of the UIAAA Connection podcast.
Welcome back to another edition of the UIAAA Connection. I'm your host, Mark Hutch-Hunter. Today we have as our special guest, Sandra Mader, Certified Master Athletic Administrator and the District Athletic Director at the Aldine School District for the past 16 years and former board member of the NIAAA. Welcome to the podcast, Sandra.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to a wonderful day with you.
All right. Let's have you begin by sharing with our audience here in Utah and across the nation where you grew up, where you went to college, your first job, etc.
I grew up in New Jersey. I went to high school at Triton Regional High School, played field hockey, basketball, and softball. Had very successful career in New Jersey. When I was 18, I decided to come to Texas. Family wasn't happy about the move, but had a wonderful opportunity to go to Sam Houston State University, and I played shortstop there. I was a two-year All-American. I was fortunate enough to be inducted into the Hall of Fame there at Sam Houston State, as well as my high school in New Jersey. There, I decided that I wanted to continue on with being a teacher. So I went to McNeese State University, where I received my master's in education, and continued on to Stephen F. Austin University for my mid-management, and just had an opportunity to go to North Shore High School. I worked there and worked with the University Interscholastic League to have softball pass as a state sport in the state of Texas, because it wasn't recognized as a state sport at that time. So we had a fast pitch championship back in 1993. So that was very instrumental for ladies to have the opportunity to compete at the state level for fast pitch softball. And created through the Texas High School Girls Coach Association the first All-Star game with Terry Plagens from Kingwood. So had a very nice career in education. I was teasing someone the other day. So I've never been outside of a school since I was 4 years old. So all these years later, I'm not going to give you the number, Mark, but been in education since I was 4 years old. So that's all that I know and all that I love. And it's been a wonderful career for myself and my family. And I have a 17-year-old son who's a pitcher at Pearland High School. They're ranked number 1 right now. They're in the playoffs in Texas. And he has the opportunity that he's committed to play baseball at Rice University.
Excellent. Let's talk for a minute about, you said you played shortstop at Sam Houston State. So you must have had an opportunity in New Jersey to play quite a bit of softball. So talk about your youth sports back in New Jersey before you went to Texas.
Well, it's interesting when you look back on your career. Now they have select softball all over the place. You know, they have great opportunities. These youngsters are being sport specific at a young age. I started playing softball at 10. There was nothing prior to me being 10 years old. And so back, my father had an opportunity to allow me to play for Atamucci Oilers as one of the select teams of its kind at that time, because there weren't a lot of select teams. So had an opportunity to play third base there, which really enabled me, along with my coaches and my high school coach, to be able to move on to the collegiate level. Youth sports, even though for myself it's grown throughout the nation, my son's had an opportunity to travel all over the country since he's been 8 years old, being afforded an opportunity not only to compete, but to build relationships with other baseball players and families. And I feel as though that's really been able to help him develop in educational based athletics and be able to compete at the high school level as well.
Excellent. Let's talk for a minute about the mentors in your life that made a big difference, your parents, coaches, teachers, etc.
Been blessed with a great family. Not only my parents, but my brother, my sisters come from an athletic background. Family very driven for us to be able to work hard. And I remember my father was a mailman. I would hang over the little fence and wait for him with my glove, had my red, white, and blue wristbands on, high water jeans. I remember looking at my feet going, I'm growing. And so my dad would never, did not matter how long he was out working or walking that day. He always came home and worked with me. My mom was still on the porch and he'd play catch with me, and just, that was really a great memory for me. And so always supported me in all of the sports I'd done. Leaving at 18 and gone to college and not having my family was an emotional struggle for me. Made a lot of phone calls home, didn't give up on my dream to be able to do that. But my parents and my family really were instrumental, as well as my grandmother's deceased. But one day I told her, I said, I'm quitting, I'm coming home. She goes, you are not, you'll work at McDonald's and you will not make anything of yourself. You stay in college. And I remember that conversation we had when I was in my dorm room. My high school coach, she really was one that looked for me to travel. I told her I wanted to go south or west to play softball. And she afforded me that opportunity by my father and I went out and we back then you could try out, and I tried out several universities and was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to Sam Houston State. But I'd say my parents and my high school coach really left a mark on my life. And this is crazy, when my college coach left after my freshman year, and Brenda Marshall, who's now the athletic director in Corpus Christi ISD, she became my college coach. And so she coached me for 3 years. I wouldn't have been an All-American without her. She pitched to me every day. I drove her crazy. I know I drove her crazy. But it was really neat to be able to win the Frank Kovaleski Award last year, and her to win a DSA and be able to be honored the same night. So it was just a great memory for me, but she touched my life as well. And you can't,
Wow.
and everything wouldn't be possible without the good Lord. I mean, I'm very, he's there every step of the way, and, my faith's really important to me. And so I'm thankful for that as well.
Let's talk for a minute about the job of athletic administrator and how it's changed since you first took the job years ago.
Well, the job itself doesn't change. The time that we put in and the hours and the relationships, all of that has not changed. Technology has changed. Finances have changed. The culture in schools have changed. And I think with all that change comes social media. Social media can really do a lot of good and do a lot of bad in regard to our athletic programs. You watch some of the things that we see on social media, working with the UIAAA and being able to provide that opportunity with our diversity awareness course and our sportsmanship courses, and many of the courses that we offer at the national level really helps assist us as athletic directors and young administrators as well, to be able to work with their programs. But I think that social media has really worked with us changing. We know communities have changed, and social dynamics have changed. Families have changed within our communities. But as far as us as athletic administrators, I really believe us, with our passion and our love for what we do, it's basically what you permit. What you permit is what you promote. So whatever you permit in your athletic programs is what you promote. And I know that with us having the hearts that we do and the sacrifices that we make with our own families, and that we really put forth that effort and that 110% to allow our communities and our schools to excel with educational-based athletics.
Allow me to ask you this, Sandra. What's your biggest failure or disappointment in life, and what did you learn from it?
There's been a lot of failures in my life. And probably looking back in my career, you make some decisions, whether it's hiring, whether it's a schedule, and you look back and say, okay, that was a negative for yourself. What is it that you can do to become better? Whether it's a hiring and giving someone an opportunity, and maybe they weren't as successful as you thought they should be. You look back and you're like, could I have grown that coach better? Is there things I could have done better to help that coach become more successful?
Let's talk for a moment about your journey with the Texas AD Association and then how you got involved with the NIAAA. and I say this with a smile on my face. This probably isn't fair, but all the ADs I know in Texas are women, with the exception of Kelly, who's no longer with us, and of course Rusty. But I've got a ton of women that I know in Texas. But talk about the Texas Association, how you got involved, and then once you get to the NIAAA, I've got some more questions for you.
Well, the Texas High School Athletic Directors Association, I mean, we have a great organization, provide a lot of opportunities. They started a TAC program here within Texas. And so Kelly got me involved with the NIAAA when I was young athletic director at Aldine ISD. I saw a little red, white, and blue little placard. And I thought, wow, what is that? And I said, I need to see what that's about. And I looked at it, and then I started asking questions when I first went to my Texas High School Athletic Directors Conference, asked some questions, and Kelly Reeves was very active at that time. And so he was the one that was instrumental with me joining the NIAAA. And then once getting to the NIAAA, I was just like, wow, I was wowed, and got to meet a lot of people like yourself and serve on committees and have a great opportunity there. I've also had an opportunity to serve at our state. I teach classes here. Rusty and I work together on the CAA exam, offering that, as well as I served as secretary on our board as well. So had a lot of opportunities here. We have I don't know what the numbers are, but we have a large group. Our conference is always in June, and the numbers are staggering as far as our involvement. So we've done great things, not only from our organization. We lobby at the state level and do a lot of great things our association does for the benefit of our youngsters in Texas.
Let's go back now to when I first met you. So this would have been in the early 2000s. I want to say, well, I'm not even sure, 2000, maybe 2001-ish, right about the time. So we're on the awards committee, and we're just new members, and there's a bunch of people on the committee. There's you and me and Joni and Bobby Rossi sitting at the back. I remember thinking we used to bounce ideas of it. Yeah, I think we should do this. I think we should do that. But I talk about your time on the awards committee and what a great time it was, and how it led up to you serving on the board later on.
I was young. That was young. It was the beginning of my career. And so, you sit in the room and you look at other athletic directors, you hear the stories and hear things from Utah and New Jersey. And, we've extended our families and our friendships from serving on those committees. But, just watching how the awards committee has grown since then. You think about that 22 years ago and how many awards now we offer, and we have them in people's names that deserving, Bruce Whitehead and Frank, and just being able to show the appreciation of what they've done to set forth things in motion for us as young administrators back then, Mark, and look where we are now in our careers, just still giving back. And that's one thing, with with the NIAAA and the association, is that, you're always giving back, volunteering, trying to make us better, not only within our own states, but nationwide. And that committee really opened up a lot of doors for me to meet people and be able to extend those relationships and have not only the opportunity to serve on the board, but to be involved with other committees and the accreditation committee, which that was a great opportunity. I've had an opportunity to serve on that as well with Jerry Durgan as the chair. And so that really opened a lot of doors for me and opened a lot of eyes of opportunity and a lot of friendships in my career.
So from the awards committee, it's later on you get a chance to serve on the board. So explain to our audience how that all came about.
Well, I had to run at large, so that was an experience. Right. We were dressed in our red, white, and blue, and it was an opportunity to be able to not only represent Texas, but represent our region, our section, and have an opportunity to represent the country. And sitting in on those board meetings, it's an eye opener, because as you're voting for things, it's not just what's best for Texas, it's what's best for the nation. Things that we have in Texas may not be what's viable in Utah or New Jersey or Florida, whatever the case may be. But if anyone ever has the opportunity to run or serve on the IAAA board, it's just a great experience, and it extends, like I said, those relationships and the professionalism and the passion you have, because everybody has that passion that you have. And so it really builds you as an athletic administrator. You know, there's days that are hard, days we're tired, days you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to make it today. And, you know, not only here with Dre and Dean, which I have great people that I work with here as athletic directors as well, with Dre being my boss as the executive director, and Dean and I, we just have a great working relationship here. But if we don't have the answers here, we can pick up the phone. I can call the Mark Hunters of the world and say, hey, Mark, I need some advice. I need some guidance. Can you help me on this? And not only not from Utah, but anybody in Texas. We can call our own athletic directors here with help as well. You know, whether it's Rusty with the association or any of our other athletic directors, Sherry Stice, Dina Scott, Sandra Howe, Lance Carter has now been named as the athletic director, and Katie. So we just have extended resources, that to never feel like you're out there by yourself, that to know that you're just a phone call away, that we are resources for one another, and we can always help extend opportunities and ideas and new ideas for one another.
That's very well said. Let me ask you a follow-up, because I admire you so much for running for at-large, because you may not know this. I ran for the at-large before I had met you and obviously did not win. So I want you to talk and encourage our people that may be listening, that if they get a chance, why they should, because it's a tough thing to put your name out there and you're not sure you're going to win. I want you to talk about that experience.
You know, even if you don't win, the people that you meet when you're gone state to state, and you're asking people for their vote and their confidence in you and your delivery, those relationships never change. There were people that I had met that I had never known. And even the people that you run against, because you don't know when that's going to come full circle. It's going to come back around where you have the confidence in yourself, and now people believe in you. It may not be the first time, maybe the second or third time, but never give up. If that's a dream, and I'll be honest with you, I watch the Jim Watkins and the Don Bales and David and Sherry Ross, and I'd watch them and Sister, and I'd be like, I want to be like them one day, because they were great role models for me. So even if it doesn't come to fruition, that you don't win, you're still a role model for others, that you did put your name in the hat and you had the opportunity to try for something that you believed in.
Great advice. Thanks so much for sharing that. And I wanted to talk for a minute. You mentioned that you received the Kovaleski Award. By the way, welcome to the club, because I was fortunate enough to win that years ago, but that's in recognition of your work with professional development. So just talk for a minute, because obviously we don't go out there and say, oh, I want to win the Frank Kovaleski Award. But if you're the winner of that award, if you're a recipient, that means that you've made significant strides in the professional development area. So speak to that for a moment.
When I saw that on my screen, I was at work, and it came up, and I read it, and I had to read it 3 times because all I was doing was crying. I couldn't read it anymore. I couldn't believe it, because Mark, you know, the great leaders we have in this nation. I mean, that is just unbelievable. And I couldn't believe it, because I was just like, why me compared to so many other people? But when I sat back, staff development is my passion. It's something that I love. I love touching lives. I love presenting. I love providing opportunity for not only young administrators, but experienced administrators to be able to open up their hearts and their minds to be able to develop their own staff and their own communities, so that their student athletes are the benefactors of educational-based athletics. And so, as my passion is staff development, but I know when I'm presenting that I'm extending way past that classroom. It's gone back to communities, it's gone back to campuses, and hopefully that it does possibly have an effect on athletic administrators and how they look at things, and help assist them with their culture they develop at their particular communities and schools.
Let me follow up with another professional development question. And by the way, for our audience, and many of the UIAAA members won't know because of the turnover, we had you in Utah, and this was, well, my goodness, it had to have been probably 13 or 14 years ago, but talk about your latest, what's the word, contribution to professional development, the diversity class, the diversity course, and the leadership training that came about. Talk about not the difficulty, but the work that went into that, because you obviously grabbed information from people all over the country.
It took several years to develop. Just had a great group of people. I mean, there were so many contributing authors throughout the country that provided wonderful information for us to be able to develop the course. We piloted it 4 or 5 times. It was one of the most piloted courses with the NIAAA. But every time we pilot, we learned something new. And the actual writing team was Steve Amaro from California, Tony Fisher from Minnesota, and Kevin Adams from, Anthony Fisher from Minnesota and Kevin Adams from Virginia. And so that was the actual writing team. But behind the scenes were so many contributing authors, and Lannis, as well as the current NIAAA board, really had a major impact on a lot of the decisions of changes and what would it look like when we rolled it out. This year, that team, as well as Lannis, has been able to travel the country and teach that particular course. I've been afforded the opportunity. I went to New Jersey and Colorado, teaching the course in Idaho, and several others have gone to Illinois and just different places to teach the particular course and be able to allow people that awareness of cultural diversity and be able to understand the changes have come through within our athletic programs over the years. So it's been really good to be able to travel. All of us, we come back, and at the end, we will come back and say, okay, what can we do to improve the course? We're already thinking about things to improve the course. And hopefully we're looking at hopefully a LTC 639 spinoff with tools and applications in regard to this particular course. So hopefully that we'll see that here in the near future.
Thanks for sharing that. Let me ask you this question. Let's go back to your time on the NIAAA board. And let me ask you if you have 1 or 2 favorite memories or stories, not necessarily in the boardroom, but as you know, there's so many memories made from the time you spend outside the boardroom with. So I'm asking if you have any particular fond memories of that time that you'd be willing to share.
I served on the board with Leslie Moore from Colorado. She's passed away, and very good friend and mentor to me. And she came in and she sat next to me. I go, "How you been?" "Good." And I leaned over to her and I said, "I'm pregnant." And she said, "You're pregnant?" I said, "What's the matter?" She goes, "I can't believe it." She goes, "She's pregnant." And everybody started looking at me, and I was pregnant with Jake. That's one of my fondest memories. The other, was, working with Frank and Bruce and the transition, and Mike, we were at a very pivotal time with our board, with change of leadership and working with the Federation. So there were a lot of changes coming through the NIAAA at that time. And so those were some of the fondest memories that I had, being there at the pivotal time and expanding the NIAAA and with Frank and Bruce. And so those were some of my fondest memories with the NIAAA board.
Excellent. Let me ask you to share your memories of the most recent. I say the most recent because by the time this airs, it will have been 6 months ago. But the conference in Nashville, the recent conference in Nashville, the biggest conference ever attended by NIAAA members. Share your views and observations regarding that latest conference.
Every conference, I look forward to every conference every year. I truly do, because it's such a I look forward to seeing faces I haven't seen all year. And, we see them in September. We'll see each other in September. And
right.
When we're piloting the one course, we see each other a lot. But there in Nashville, my family was coming in because of my award. And so that was very special to me. But just being able to roll out that particular LTC 638, the awareness course, we had 80 in our class. Watching those numbers, just watching leadership training grow, the number of courses that we have being offered there, but the friendships, that Nashville is a very nice place, as far as opportunity to do things outside the conference. For some of us don't ever get out of the hotel because the things that we're doing, you know that, Mark,
Right.
we're hanging in the hotel, but just building those friendships and being able to see a lot of people. Sometimes we go to different parts of the country for the national conference, and due to financial reasons or family reasons, you may not be able to get to a certain part of the country. But I think with Nashville being almost kind of central, and I think that really does really entices a lot of people to attend that particular conference. I know for some of like yourself traveling from the West, or some of my friends travel like from Idaho and coming over to Florida, it's difficult with travel times. So sometimes when you see particular conferences in certain locations, it does provide the opportunity for a lot of other people to be able to travel to that particular location. But Nashville is a wonderful destination, and it was a wonderful opportunity for me to be able to have my family there, as well as see a lot of friends I haven't seen over the years.
Well, it really, I guess my biggest recollection is we had the conference in Denver after it was online in Tampa, and Denver everybody was happy to see each other, but you couldn't see the smiles because everybody was wearing a mask. And it was really the first conference since 2019 where it was somewhat back to normal.
But I think God took care of us, because when we came back from Denver, we didn't go to Tampa, and then we went to Denver. I sat the Broncos game in shorts.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Because
couldn't
it was
believe
that
it.
unusual warm spell.
Me and the other athletic directors, my boss and another athletic and Dean, we're like, what? Here we are, t-shirts and enjoying the game. And who would ever thought? So I think God took care of us on that one when we went to Denver.
Exactly. What's the favorite part of your job, Sandra?
Seeing smiles on kids' faces. We have a young man right now, Ryan Niblett, at the state track meet, just watching kids succeed, and whatever that may be. It very well may not be a win. It may be an opportunity to compete, but watching kids and their smiles on their faces, that's the most important to me.
Let's finish up with a couple of questions. The first one being, you've got 2 suggestions for a brand new athletic administrator. They need to follow Sandra's 2 suggestions in order to be a success. What would your 2 suggestions be?
Expand on your passion. That's your passion. Expand on your passion, and be visible. And the other would be to be flexible. And I know a lot of young administrators will ask us, being a mom, how can you maintain your family and as well as maintain your job? And that flexibility and that support at home, really, you can do both. But you have to be able to manage your time and be organized and provide that opportunity, not only, like I said, at work, but with your family.
Great
and,
suggestions.
The thing is, for me, I work with someone great that when I have opportunities that my son's participating, that we work on that schedule ahead of time so that he knows exactly what my schedule is with my son.
Very important. Thanks for sharing that. Let me finish with this question that I obviously borrowed from another famous interviewer. What question should I have asked you that I failed to ask you?
You look on your career and you think back of everything that you've done, from an athlete to a student to a colleague to a leadership role. And the one thing that comes to mind is not only, our faith in Jesus and what he provides for us, but those relationships. Relationships are key to who we are. And I've just had a wonderful career. And so I just thank everyone from the Texas High School Athletic Directors Association to the NIAAA that they've been able to afford me the opportunity to continue on with my leadership skills, as well as my passion here in Aldine Independent School District, and allow me the opportunity to to be a leader in those three associations.
Well said. That wraps it up for this edition of the UIAAA Connection. Again, our special guest today has been Sandra Mader, Certified Master Athletic Administrator and the Director of Athletics at the Aldine Independent School District in Texas. Thanks so much, Sandra, for being on the show.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it.
For our listeners, we hope you tune in again next week for another edition of the UIAAA Connection.